Ladies and gentlemen, and all our listeners all over the world, I've finally caught up with Mr. Neil Taylor. Most of you know him already, highly talented musician, singer, and now with his own albums under his own name. Neil, would you like to say hi to everyone at GloTIME Radio?
Hello everybody at GloTIME Radio. First time I've ever been interviewed for GloTIME Radio, and Tony's very good at it, I hear.
You're very kind, but you haven't heard many of my interviews, so maybe you should hold on and say that when you've heard some of them. But yes, so Neil, I'm talking to you from Indianapolis, and you are in Bradford-on-Avon?
Bradford-on-Avon in the southwest of England, in Wiltshire.
And I do hear a slight accent there, Neil.
Oh, right, do you? Yeah. What, Bristolian?
I mean, my ear for accents is long gone now there, but I can hear a twang there a little bit, yes.
Oh, yeah, well, I was born and bred in Bristol.
Okay.
So yeah, there is a slight Bristolian accent comes out every now and then, I think, yeah, that's for sure.
So Neil, let's go back a little bit.
Yeah.
When did you first start playing?
I started playing when I was 13 years old. And to be honest, when I first got my guitar, my parents bought me a guitar because my friend Bobby Watson had the same guitar, and I decided I wanted that guitar. I didn't really get into it that much, first off. But it's only when me and Bobby Watson were doing a show at school, and we played Freebird, and I did the rhythm, and he played the lead, and then all my friends said, "Oh, Bobby Watson's better than you." And that really made me think, right, I have to sit down and start practicing. And I stayed in every night for months and months, maybe over a year, just practicing the guitar.
Well, it obviously paid. Did you find it, fairly easy, or was it hard work?
To be honest, I have no patience for anything really in terms of like learning stuff. And guitar, I wasn't, pushed a little bit by my dad in a nice way. And if I didn't have my friend Bobby Watson, I probably wouldn't be playing guitar now. I don't have the patience for picking things up and learning them,
But you've done so well with it. I mean, when I hear you play, it's like a natural talent, Neil.
Well, yeah, I mean, it took me a while, but, after that year of staying in or so and practicing, and then my dad used to go to this pub, and he came back one afternoon, him and Mum, saying that there's a band looking for a guitar player. I said, "You'll go for an audition." I said, "I'm not doing it." He kept on at me all week, and I ended up going to the audition. And after the first song, they said, "You got the job." And that was when everything changed for me. Once I got into a kind of band, the camaraderie, playing songs that I loved, and, I was very into Status Quo. We did a few Status Quo songs in the set.
They were easy to do, weren't they, Neil? They're kind of straight 12-bar blues.
Yeah, that's right. And do you know what? But it was the most amazing feeling for me. Instead of being in my bedroom, I always thought, I'm never going to be a musician, never be a musician. And then, finding myself in the band, thinking, I could maybe do this as a job now. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
That's when it all kind of changed for me. Once I got in a band, that's when I decided this is what I want to do for a living,
Yeah, and so then when you got the buzz, you start going on stage, and it's the complete sound. You're listening to the bass, you're listening to the other guitar, perhaps, if there is one, and you're listening to the, the drums, and it makes such a complete sound, doesn't it?
Well, it does, yeah. I mean, it's the, and there's something happens when you're on stage with a band, like the energy, and you can't recreate that any other way apart from being on stage.
That's
with
right.
a band in front of an audience,
Yeah, that's right. So then, how did you get involved with Tears for Fears?
I had my own band. It was called Sneak Preview. And we managed to get a song on a compilation album, which was Cherry Red Records. And basically, I mean, it was just to do with Bristol bands. And the album was called Avon Calling. It was released in 1978. And funny enough, it's been re-released about 2 years ago. And a couple of guys from Bath heard this song, and they liked the guitar playing. They managed to track me down and asked me to go and play on their single. So I went across, and I remember getting paid £30 to play on their song.
30 quid.
I thought, this was amazing. This was back in, 1978?
Yeah.
Yeah, 1978, 79. I thought, wow, I could really keep doing this. This is great. And the bass player was a guy called Kurt Smith. And then the other two guys were a band called Neon that went on to become Naked Eyes, they had a big hit with Always Something There to Remind Me. Anyway, so they basically had a big hit with it, and they had quite a lot of success in the States. But anyway, so I ended up playing with Kurt and these two guys who were called Neon at the time. And I remember playing Mole's Club in Bath, and there was a guy stood in front of me. His name was Roland Orsable, and he was checking out what I was doing. And I never really met Roland. And then about a few months later, I decided that this band wasn't the thing for me. So I ended up leaving the band, going back with my band. And then the next thing I remember is coming home one evening, and I was a builder, labourer. And it was cold, and it was raining. I was covered in cement, in mud. And I came home, and my mum had Top of the Pops on. And I looked and I thought, I know those two guys. And it was Kurt Smith, the bass player, and Roland, who took my place in this band, Neon. They basically got a band together. They formed Tears for Fears. And I thought, oh my God, what a decision. I made the wrong decision here,
Yeah.
I felt terrible, thinking, my God, why did I make the wrong decision like that? I should have stayed with the band. Anyway, about 3 months later, I bumped into Kurt at a party. After the song was Mad World on Top of the Pops they played. And so he said, we've been trying to track you down because we want you to play on our next tour. And that's how it all started.
Wow.
I ended up playing on tour for them. And then I ended up, one of my first sessions was playing the guitar solo at the end of Everybody Wants to Rule the World. And
now, did you I've got to ask you about that. I mean, it's one of the best guitar solos that ever was. It's right up there with things like Hotel California, not because of all the notes and it's just the way it came together.
Yeah. It's a kind of funny thing. It's very, very nice of you to say that. But yeah, I mean, it is quite an iconic solo. But when you're doing stuff like that, you just don't think of it as being like that at all. You're kind of thinking, well, there's about 6 people in the room. You're thinking, oh my God, I hope I can get through this without playing too many bum notes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Now, did you just play it off? I've been in bands myself, nothing on your level, and you work hard at doing something, and then sometimes a piece will just come together like a natural thing, and it flows, and you think, wow, that worked.
With Everybody Wants to Rule the World, I mean, I had a phone call from Ian Stanley, the keyboard player, and said, Neil, we want you to come up to the studio now, because we have this track, we know we want you to play a guitar solo on it. So I went up, and all they had was the down, down, down. That's all they had at the time. But they said, we want a guitar solo on it, so, and they had the sound. And so I ended up playing a guitar solo. I ended up playing another guitar solo, and they stopped and said, we got it. We got the second half of the first take. And the first half of the first take, and all it is, that guitar solo is 2 takes, and you can hear the join right in the middle, basically. But I mean, that was it, and I was done in 5 minutes.
Oh my goodness! So could they replicate that, or did you then immediately start going on tour and doing gigs with them?
Well, I mean, I unfortunately, I was supposed to go on their was it 1985 tour when they went massive in the States, but I just signed a record deal with my own band, and they kept on and on at me to go. But I thought, no, I've got to continue and do my own thing, which was the biggest mistake of my musical career, to be honest with you.
But Neil, I don't know that any of these things are mistakes. When you look back, you think, I wish I had done that. But so moving forward from that, so every time you hear that, and I think in one of my first messages to you, I said, thank you, Neil, for making me smile 1,000 times.
That's nice.
Well, it's kind of how it is, I travelled all over the world, and I used to take that single with me. Those days, it was in a CD, and especially when I was going out to the Middle East, there were certain things that I had to take with me just to, remember where I came from, and that was one of the tracks, and I would listen to it, and it would always make me smile, and I would do air guitar when I could hear you playing. It was so funny.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a fantastic, iconic song. I mean, it's one of the best songs of the 80s as far as I'm
I agree.
And, you know, it's when you hear it, it's timeless.
Yes.
I mean, you know, especially, it's like a summer song. It always reminds me of the summer driving around. Like,
That's
you know,
right, me too.
You know, Kurt's driving around in an old sports car.
Yeah.
It always reminds me of the summer driving around. Like,
That's
you know,
right, me too.
You know, Kurt's driving around in an old sports car.
Yeah.